Welcome to this week's Wednesday Waffle. And boy, this waffle might last a long time. I will try and keep it reasonably short. So what are we going to be talking about? The usual things, what we've been up to, upcoming videos, the waffle, or waffles in this case, and then bring it to a close. And depending how long I've waffled on, we might have some drone footage. So, our weekend trip didn't go quite as planned. Lindsay's been on about going to the bridge at Furness for quite some time, so we decided we would head out that way. When we got to the park up, there were two vehicles in there, and really, although we could have got in, two vehicles is enough at that spot. Three would have made it awkward for any cars or anything that wanted to use the place. So we decided to move on. We turned about and headed with the plan, which ended up in Glenlivet via Grantown-on-Spey and Lochindorb. And we arrived at Lochindorb, and really I wasn't expecting anything. I was expecting, wall-to-wall camper vans, tents, etc. It was deserted. So we quickly got set up and decided we'd spend the weekend there. So unplanned, but one of our favourite spots, and we had a great time. Maybe. So that was our not as planned trip, and the diary will be out on the Facebook group, and there's pictures up there already of our weekend, but there'll be a little bit more about it coming up in the waffle. So what's coming up video wise? Well, we've got a video on Friday, which is a snowy sunset at Ordekish, and it was weird to see the snow and the sunset at the same time. It carries on from Monday's video, which was about Jean Carr's stone, and a very sad story, and it's in this video as well. On Monday, Lindsay's wandering around Colin and comes across something she didn't know, an old smithy. But apparently the guy's next door neighbour didn't know either. Wednesday, more of this. Friday, a video entitled It's Always Different, no matter how many times we go. And it's video from Colin, and just a different view of it, basically, from previous views. We're trying to do that now when we go back to a place, if we can, because we've been backwards and forwards to places a lot because of COVID, because we're really taking in favourite spots. Anyway, that's next week's video offering. So, I've got 4 topics written down here in the waffle, and they're all not little. Actually, some of them are. First of all, birders, or twitchers, or whatever you want to call them. I know what I was calling them on Saturday. While we were at Lochindorb, we watched a pair of black-throated divers, and they swam up the loch, close in shore. And it was time to set up the camera and take some video slow as they approached and swam past. Within seconds, though, a crowd of bird watchers. They weren't twitchers. I don't think twitchers would chase a black-throated diver, pair or otherwise. And literally they forced them across the other side of the loch and down and away, and we didn't see them again the whole weekend. And the pattern I've seen previously with divers, if they swim up close in the shore like that, they'll be back. They're following a feeding pattern or looking for nest sites, etc. So just because of the actions of those few birders with their hyper long lenses and their super duper great big long spotting scopes, I mean, one of them was it was comedy length. He'd have been looking at the toenails of a grasshopper at the other end of the loch, never mind a diver. Anyway, and the other part of this, the next part of this, they're joined to that as well, I suppose. And it's the trend I've seen on social media. And I've done a video of it a couple of years ago about wild camping being illegal in Scotland. And it is technically illegal in Scotland under the Land Reform Act. And if that's how you're doing your wild camping, then yes, you're breaking the law. But if you're doing it under the Road Traffic Act, as per, then you're fine. Anyway, the other thing that's become very, very clear is that people don't know the difference between camping or setting up camp and just parking. And that's a very important distinction. You can get out of your motorhome, caravan even, set up your chairs, have a cup of tea, something to eat, relax, but then you have to put it away. And you mustn't block any marked parking spaces to comply. Yeah? But what you can't do is set up your tent, your awning, your whatever, in such a way that it looks as though it's permanent stroke semi-permanent. Not allowed. And that's the same as on the continent. It's remarkably similar. But there are companies in England offering advice on places that you can wild camp, etc., etc. And they're charging you money for it. It's free. That's the whole point of it. And there is a big difference between wild camping, parking, and setting up camp when you're parked. Anyway, moving on. We've had an election. They had one down in England as well, but it was for council and one by-election. But up here in Scotland, we've had an election, and pretty much everything stayed pretty much as it was. But apparently all the politicians have won, except the ones that didn't, but they really won because yeah. Why can politicians not just come out and say, yeah, we took a beating? They have to play with the numbers, the figures, and in the case of mass media, exaggerate things. It's going to be no harder this Parliament for the governing party to rule as it was last Parliament. They've increased one seat, one off a majority, yeah, but that's the way this system's set up. Learn to live with it, other parties. The system in Scotland gives a much fairer Parliament, I think, than the one at Westminster. Enough on that. But what I am going to have a finish up with, well, when I say finish up, is this one could go on a bit. No, Scotland is due to go to level 2 on May the 17th. That is next Monday. However, currently Moray is due to stay in level 3, with possibly some further restrictions from Friday. Now, why are we going to be in level 3? Well, they say the numbers are higher and the case rate is higher, and that may well be. The numbers are out there. I've done some analysis on them, and their numbers are slightly out on what I see, but then I don't have their numbers. I have the ones that I can glean from there. But the case rates are up around 2 particular points. Now, there's 2 things about these particular points. One of the points is Elgin, and one of the points is Keith. Now, those particular towns, they're 2 of the largest in Moray. They also have a large population of people who don't think COVID exists. I've mentioned them before in other videos, but they have another thing which is making me think. They are the site of the two hospitals in Moray that are, quite large. The hospital at Keith has a GP's practice on it, and of course Dr. Gray's in Elgin. I wonder if that could be something to do with the case rate there as well. Who knows? It could be that the people I blame for it, who are to blame in a way, I'll come back on that, are not, and it's the fact that the two hotspots are centred on hospitals, or in places with hospitals. Now, that could be wrong. I've got no data to back it up, but it might be worth somebody, if they've got a spare time, mathematician in government service, doing an analysis for a similar population area around some of the other places with hospitals. I wish I could do it, but I don't have access to the data. Mainly the population data would be what I needed, because Mourie's not big. The population is under 100,000. I think it stands at 95, 96,000 and odds. So it would be interesting to see that analysis done, more out of interest than anything else, because it is my belief that the people I'm talking about or have spoken about in the past, they know who they are largely to blame. They don't think COVID exists. They were part of an organisation that got the churches reopened under saying the government had no right to shut churches. They continually flout the laws. They don't wear their masks, for example, and they were behind, apparently, a large party that was held along the coast in Moray. So, I've had my say. I'm not happy that, one, I'm possibly, well, we're going to be in level 3, which will make little difference, except if they make no other changes, I can't go outside Moray. Well, there's plenty of places for us to go and do and see within Moray for now. But the thing is that it's going to stop me possibly meeting people that I want to meet, because we can't leave and they can't come in. And this is the big one, there may be further restrictions on Friday. All down to people who don't think it exists. Anyway, enough. I've waffled on and I've got nothing to back up most of what I've waffled on about COVID just recently. The numbers are there, but they're equivocal. And yeah. Anyway, so where does that leave us? Just a wind up and probably show some drones. I told you what we've been up to. I've told you what's coming. I've had a bit of a rant. I hope I don't have to mention that bloody thing again, I tell you. Anyway, yeah, here's some drone footage. The video might go on a bit, but to hell with it. Enjoy the video, enjoy the drone footage, and I'll see you next week, where I'll have something different to rant about, and a real rant this time. Thank you for watching Desmond's Dongers. And remember, please take nothing but memories and leave nothing but tracks. Please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and hopefully we'll see you next time.